Hello and welcome. It's This Is Going Well, I Think, with David Cooper. I am your host, David Cooper. It's This Is Going Well, I Think, the show with only good vibes, with only great guests, and a totally anxious and stressed out host who screams into his microphone. I got a fantastic show lined up for you today. A recent study showed that 1 in 5 food delivery app workers were unfortunately assaulted on the job. Even for occupational hazards, that sounds awful. We'll talk to somebody who led that study in about 10 minutes. Then it's foreign correspondent Tony 5, who knows nothing about the internet, nothing about computers. He's going to weigh in with his ridiculous and lovable opinion on the future of AI. So for one night and one night only, Tony 5 is going to be an AI expert on This Is Going Well, I Think. And by golly, does that sound like a good lineup? And by golly, does saying by golly sound really stupid? So stupid that I regret saying it in the first place? Probably. And first, this. Oh, I'm excited to share this one. Excuse me. Oh, I'm excited. Still in my throat. Whoa. Man, the element of surprise is lost. But here is a story that you can file under. Here's why we can't have nice things. An OnlyFans model managed to turn an art installation between New York City and Dublin in Ireland into her own personal peep show. The piece of art was a connection between Dublin and New York. It was a giant screen with 2 cameras, and you could see people walking back and forth connecting the 2 cities. That's what it was. A portal. Intended to be a bridge to a united planet, said the creators, but it ended up showing more unity than anyone expected when this model decided to flash her New York, potatoes at Dublin. Imagine the surprise of the organizers of this art when they realized their project had turned into a global game of show and tell. X-rated show and tell, in my opinion, the best kind. Now, they tried to stop the lewd behavior, but that's like trying to stop a toddler from eating dirt. It's just going to happen. It's just going to keep happening. Maybe you should just let it happen. But Dublin City Council are miffed. They're scrambling to put an end to all the naughty shenanigans. The creators of this 24/7 live stream connection between cities likely envisioned heartwarming exchanges and cultural connections, not X-rated performances and digital indecency. It's as if they opened Pandora's box and they were shocked when a bunch of internet trolls with boobs jumped out. In New York, the portal was located in the Flatiron District, where it, in addition to this, became a hotspot immediately for inappropriate antics, like flashing the symbol of a certain political party in Germany in the 40s, and in a truly twisted display of humor, an image of the Twin Towers on 9/11. Was it too soon? Maybe. It's the classic case of what did you think was going to happen? When you give the public a stage, sometimes they'll perform Shakespeare. But more often than not, you'll get something closer to a bad episode of reality TV. And speaking of reality, the female flasher's boyfriend even got into a conversation with security, who admitted the portal would be down for some time to curb all these vulgar acts. Now, the company behind the art, Portals Organization, as it's called, blamed a, quote, technical glitch for the shutdown. Maybe they were trying to fix the software, or maybe they just needed a moment to reboot their faith in humanity, but I'm not buying it. I think they shut it down to keep the boobies out of this thing. Now, Dublin officials say most interactions have been positive, but it's, quote, a small minority that manages to steal the spotlight. Kind of like that one guy at a party who insists on showing everybody his new dance moves. Or like me, calling everybody in the bathroom to see what I've done. And that's the short version of why I'm never invited to any parties. But back to the story. In the end, both cities are working on technical solutions to keep the portal running, but smoothly, decently, and decently smooth. And let's hope their fixes are more effective than a Band-Aid on, well, a nipple? Until then, remember, art is meant to provoke thought, not the authorities.
David Cooper.
Dani, I always tell people there's a producer of this show, and the first thing they say is, I don't believe you have a show, and the second thing they say is, I don't believe you have a producer. So can you just tell people that you're real?
I'm real. Am I your producer, though?
I mean, you help with the show, or is that more like a Make-A-Wish thing? You're just doing me a favor.
Do I help with the show? Sure. I can be like a co-producer.
Well, you do help with the show, and it's so difficult, the work, that I have something to tell you.
Okay.
Dani, we are getting an intern on the show, and he's going to be on later. I'm going to introduce him to Tony. I'm going to throw him in the deep end. But first of all, what do you think about us having an intern?
Oh, wow. That means I can do even less?
Well, I mean, the show practically writes itself. It's garbage. So, I mean, to write garbage is garbage in, garbage out, as they say.
Okay. Well, I'm excited. What do we know about this intern?
Well, he went to Seneca. They have like a broadcasting program. He's very smart, very intelligent. It just really begs the question, why on earth does he want to work with us?
Oh, boy. Does he have a sense of humor? Does he appreciate sarcasm?
We're about to find out. When I heard we were going to have an intern on the show, the first thing I said is he's got to come directly on with Tony 5, throw him in the deep end. If he survives, then he's the perfect fit.
Oh, man, that is quite the introduction to your show with Tony 5. I can't wait to hear that.
Well, it'll be coming out later today. All right, last thing I want to say is you do work on the show, first of all. Second of all, one of the stories you pulled for me was this OnlyFans model who flashed this portal art installation that's supposed to show the streets of New York to the streets of Dublin. Was that you?
It's not me. I sent you the story, but what do you mean?
Yeah, that was what I meant. Were you the one who sent the story? Not that were you the model. Come on, I would never ask you that.
I was going to say, I sent you that story and I booked you an OnlyFans model. Not that one, but a different one.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. That'll come later in the week. And to that end, to what's coming later in the week, how would you say the show's going? I just want to check in on the health of the show with you. I used to do that a lot with you. We haven't done it in a while. What do you make of the new season, the new format? Tell me a little bit about how you think the show is faring health-wise.
I feel like it's on life support.
So does everyone listening. And by everyone, I mean everyone listening.
And like all the doctors and nurses want us to just let the patient go.
But they haven't passed the laws necessary to let me go yet?
No, they're trying to encourage you to just let go, to walk away. And yeah, no, I think it's been going well. I mean, I love the regulars. I love the unique guests too. And I really like when you do the weird stories off the top. That's actually one of my favorite parts because I just like having a bunch of random stories that, just having them summarized. And I find that part kind of funny.
Only the news that's relevant to people's lives do we not cover on this show.
Exactly.
You recently told me, Dani, that you played this show for your son and he had an interesting reaction to it.
Oh my gosh. Yes, it was. You started singing the intro and stuff and just doing really weird stuff at the beginning. So he heard that and then he looked at me and he said, "That's your boss?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Does he do drugs?" And I kind of lowered the volume. It was still playing, and I kind of said, "Well, actually, he used to, but he's been clean and sober now for, I think, 5 years, which we're all really happy about." And I said that was great. And then I put the volume back up, and just as I did that, you were singing Tony 5's intro, Under the Sea or something. You were singing that. And my son's like, "Are you sure he's not doing drugs anymore?"
I'm not even sure, and I don't do drugs, so that's where I'm at.
Exactly. So, yeah, that was, I don't know what to say. So he kind of just walked away at that point.
Well, it really shows the maturity level that we're working with here. Anyway, Dani, that's all the time I have to chat with you, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to bring you on the show and thank you for all the great work you do and the help you give. And I just love working with you, so thanks, and thanks for being here.
Aw, thank you. I like working with you, too.
I mean, I didn't mean a word of it, but the sentiment, was sweet, and I'm happy about that. Coming up, kind of horrible news for anyone in the gig economy. 1 in 5 food delivery app workers, according to a recent study, were assaulted on the job. Awful. We'll dig into the dangers and specifics of this story with someone who led the study coming up next. Do you think working as a food delivery driver might be a great way to earn some extra cash? Well, you might want to think twice because it could affect your personal safety. According to a new study, 1 in 5 food delivery app workers were assaulted in the job. That does not sound fun. I have someone here who worked on the study. They're at the Barry Commoner Center for Health and Environment of Queens College in New York. Zoey Laskaris. Zoey, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Can you give us a brief overview of this study, of the findings? What possessed you to research this stuff in the first place?
Well, really, we got to thank the New York City Department of Consumer and Worker Protection, who ran a study among all basically delivery workers who were working in New York City during the fall of 2021. So they had the power somehow to collect contact information from a bunch of app companies that are pretty popular in New York, like Uber Eats, Grubhub, I'm going to name them just because I can, DoorDash, Relay, ChowBus, Hungry Panda. So they collected all contact information for all these app-based delivery workers and then sent them a text message or an email with a survey link. And the survey was offered in 9 different languages. And they collected a bunch of information. And this is like pretty amazing because normally we have no way of reaching a large number of gig workers like delivery workers. And we also know pretty much nothing about their occupational health and safety. Companies, like app-based companies, are not required to collect any information if their workers get injured, if their workers die, if their workers get ill, if their workers get into a crash and break their vehicle. They have no responsibility for tracking any of that data or helping to compensate the workers for injuries, medical bills, repairs, and so on.
And even if they have the data, they're completely disincentivized to share it.
Absolutely. And they have a ton of data, and they are really in an amazing position to help us understand kind of how their company's apps are influencing workers' behaviors, but they're definitely going to, manipulate that in whatever way they can to pitch the narrative that they want people to believe, which is work for a company. You're your own boss. You could work whenever you want. It's flexible. You're an entrepreneur and so on. But really, it's a very dangerous job.
This episode of the show brought to you by our sponsor, DoorDash. No, I'm kidding. I just figured there's at least one way to work humor into a rather grim subject matter. So you got this data because the city of New York collected it and not these companies. What did you do with it?
So they collected it first to figure out what the minimum wage is that these workers should get. And they used that information from the workers. That was their main goal. And they figured out, and the city passed a law that app-based delivery workers should get paid around $18 an hour. And that's effective. And part of went into that, what goes into that payment is the fact that they don't get compensated for their injuries and all that other stuff I just talked about. So anyway, we, my co-authors and I, we decided to FOIL for that data. So we got access to it and we dove a little deeper to look a little bit deeper into what they learned about reported injuries and assaults. And we kind of wanted to explore this phenomenon or this idea that workers who are super dependent on these apps, like who work these apps as their full-time gig, right? They're not just doing it as a side hustle, but they are it is their only source of income. We wanted to explore the idea that being dependent on the app might actually make you more vulnerable to the algorithmic manipulation, which might encourage them to get stressed out and take on risky behavior and then make them more likely to get injured or assaulted.
And with this behavior, they kind of gamify the apps as I understand them. They say you have to get this many deliveries in this amount of time. It's sort of like a loyalty card at a sandwich shop. The workers are in a rush to meet these kind of metrics, right?
Exactly. It's deliver as fast as you can, as many deliveries as you can, get a good review. Like, what does that mean to get a good review? You're like,
and it's so subject to what the restaurant is doing, not in the delivery driver's control.
exactly. Yeah, what the restaurant is doing and like the person who's getting the delivery, their attitude when you like drop it off, if they're going to give you a thumbs up or not. But that all those types of things, like not knowing what your schedule is the next day, is going to make somebody like, concerned, like, oh, even if they're tired, oh, I better make as many, this extra delivery, this one last delivery today, because I don't know what I'm going to get tomorrow. And then like you slip on the stairs when you're running up because you're dead tired because you've been riding your bike around for 40 hours a day on the streets of New York City. Like something is bound to happen. But if there was like a better safety culture and more, like actual caring about the worker and the types of hazards that they're going to face, and knowledge that if they're super stressed out and angry and unsure about their income, they're going to do things that are going to put themselves at risk.
So you find out all this stuff. Did anything surprise you when you did the study?
I think like it was a little surprising that like delivery workers have a 60% greater risk of injury just, because they're dependent on the app, like regardless of the amount of hours they spend on the road, whether they use a car or a bike or a moped. So like that, that main finding. And the other one that kind of surprised me is that a lot of the delivery workers have limited English ability. And we don't know how many were born in this country or not, what their nativity is, but we do know that they decided to take the survey in a different language and reported that their English wasn't so great. And those workers have a greater risk of assault. And it's not really clear why.
I have a guess. People are jerks.
I would support that hypothesis.
But anecdotal, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess by jerks, you mean like maybe prejudice or discrimination? Like
Correct. I would classify that under jerk, yes.
Yes, I agree. We do know that a lot of workers have reported not to police, but anecdotally and in like qualitative interviews that some assaults are triggered by people trying to steal their bikes. So that is another reason, or trying to steal money. But bikes, an e-bike can cost you around $2,000. And if that's like an entryway into a new job, or you can sell it, that's, and then you have the added element of a worker potentially not locking it up because they're trying to make the delivery run in and out of a house as fast as they can, then, it's more likely that their bike is going to get stolen.
And for some people who don't have a lot of cash, that $2,000, like that's a horrible theft. Not only have you stolen something that's so expensive, they can no longer do their job anymore once it's stolen.
Exactly. And so now they're going to have lost wages. Again, something that the company has no obligation to compensate them for. And if you think about injuries, like all the cascading effects of if you break your arm, like you are not going to be on the street in another couple of days. And normally in this country, the goal is that employers, we have a no-fault insurance system for work-related injuries and illnesses, workers' compensation system. Not saying that it's perfect, but the goal is that, workers should be compensated if something happens to them at work, right? Or if a truck driver breaks down, that truck driver is not responsible for repairing their vehicle. Mm-hmm. But these app companies can wipe their hands clean of any responsibility because they're classified as independent contractors.
This episode brought to you by Uber Eats. Okay, so the study found that workers who rely on these delivery apps are more susceptible to injury and assault. Do you have any solutions for ways that we could potentially make things better for these drivers, make things a little less risky?
I wish I had some really great solutions other than please do not ask somebody to deliver your coffee. I find that very annoying. But no, that's not the solution. Probably one of the biggest areas to focus on is this misclassification of app workers as independent contractors. If there are laws that can be put in place that if somebody is working exclusively for an app, they should be considered an employee. And then the apps have no choice but to provide them the benefits that a normal employee would have. So that's like one area of policy that can be focused on. I would say too, just like obligations of gig employers related to health and safety. So they should, at a minimum, be tracking injuries and fatalities at a minimum, because otherwise, it's really hard to gather the evidence to hold them accountable. And like provide helmets, lights. I mean, basic things. These companies are making billions of dollars. That's kind of the lowest hanging fruit, is providing better personal protective equipment. But that's, kind of like I guess a basic thing that can be done. Something that kind of came up with publishing this study was a lot of people complained about how terrible drivers, delivery workers are. And I don't think that we should ignore that fact. Delivery workers do often go the wrong way in a bike lane or on the street, and they have a bad rap for that, and people are really afraid of them. But I just want to encourage people to have some empathy, thinking about what's like going on behind the scenes and why they may be driving in that way. On top of the fact that some people may not even know like the basic rules, that there was no requirement for them to have a good understanding of traffic rules in New York City before starting the job.
And these app companies are really incentivizing these drivers to rush, get it done quickly as possible.
Yep.
Zoey, thanks for going over this with me. This conversation was fun.
Thank you for having me. And I promise you one listener, my mom.
Well, wow, we've really increased our listenership. What's the percentage when you increase from 0 to 1?
0.0001.
Infinite improvement. Zoey Laskaris, she works at the Barry Commoner Center for Health and the Environment of Queens College. Zoey, thanks again.
Thank you for having me.
All right, the very British foreign correspondent Tony Five and I are going to weigh in on the future of AI. Tony's an AI expert, at least for this segment. Mostly he's just an idiot. And also, I have a surprise for Tony, but I can tell you, I just won't tell him. This show is getting an intern. Why would anyone want to intern for this show? That we'll find out when we talk to him with Tony. But first, Tony on AI. Computers, cybernet, intelligence, artificial eye. What do we know about it? What's the future? What's the past? Will the robots have sex with us? I'm here with Tony Five, AI expert, to discuss the future of AI. Tony, welcome to the show.
David, hello listeners. Yep, AI expert, I can spell it forwards and backwards, David. Now, I am very worried about AI. To our listeners, I think it will be like that film with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Twins, where it all just goes wrong and we all die.
Danny DeVito's just everywhere. On every street corner is a Danny DeVito cyborg.
Correct.
I love Danny DeVito.
It worries me. It keeps me awake at night. And apparently there's a new version, GPT 4.0, which I know you are good at. And to think that a lot of the content that we produce is AI and it's still god awful gives me a little bit of hope that it's not quite got there yet.
Now, you as the expert, what does GPT stand for in ChatGPT?
Global penile tension, David.
That's right. I thought it was generative pre-training transformer, but global penile tension, I think, is what we're all worried about. Are you worried that AI pornography is going to get so good that... Well, I guess not worry. Are you excited that it's going to get so good that it'll be just amazing?
Absolutely terrified, David, because at the moment my porn content is, in a word, illegal. So having AI watch over my shoulder is even more terrifying, because somehow they'll be able to watch all of the weird things that I look at and see and think about. I'm worried that it will impregnate my brain. Like, for example, the other day I was thinking about a girl I'd met on Tinder, and when I went round to her house, she had a unicorn on her wall.
What?
Yeah, like a picture of a unicorn on her wall.
Oh, but it was AI generated.
No, it was just a unicorn.
What does this have to do with anything?
I don't know. I was just telling you I had sex with a girl who had a unicorn on her wall.
So you're just telling us you had sex, completely unrelated, but you're an AI expert. So
Yeah.
I guess my question is, let's forget about depictions of people below the legal age, because I don't want to get into a question about morality associated with that.
No, you've already done that before, David, isn't it? And we're subject to that lawsuit. Carry on.
So lawsuit aside, let's assume the people in question I'm talking about are 18 or 20 or whatever the age is and older.
Correct.
What do you think about AI pornography generation where the acts of adults would be illegal? You know, like maybe it's gruesome, it's violent, it's like, but people could generate it and watch it. I mean, there is no victim. Should that be illegal?
I don't know. Give me an example of a victimless crime. A lot of people say like finance crime is a victimless crime, but obviously somebody suffers somewhere, right?
Well, society suffers, right? Like if enough people steal money, if the banks print too much money, the dollar will inflate. If people don't pay their taxes, the government has less revenue, so they got to raise the taxes on everyone else. It might be a fraction of a fraction because of how much tax revenue is, but there is still a sort of a theft from society.
Yeah, so there's no such thing as a victimless crime.
I don't know about that. What about drugs? I mean, assuming the illegal drug trade aside, let's say I'm a chemist and I buy the materials from a chemical ordering company and I create the chemicals in my house safely. You know, it's not a meth lab where I'm putting toxic chemicals. And then I take the drug and I trip and I have a fine trip and it's a safe drug, you know, that would be victimless.
Oh, okay, I suppose so. I was thinking over the top, like, you know, you being high and then like jumping in front of a bus or something. But yeah, I suppose if it was just you getting high and then coming off it, then yeah, okay, that's a victimless crime. All right, well, you've suckered my point. I was trying to work out what a victimless crime is.
But by this logic, let's say it's a woman whose fantasy is to have sex with a man and then shoot him, kill him.
Right.
So you can generate an AI porn where they have sex and then the woman kills the man and it's gruesome and it looks completely real.
Yeah.
And this would be an illegal act. As far as I know, murder is illegal. Should you be able to produce that kind of pornography? You as an AI specialist should have a good ethics and morals answer to this question.
Yeah, well, I think it's a good idea. It's like when people say like playing like Grand Theft Auto encourages, but if it didn't encourage the voyeur to carry out said act, then I believe it would be a victimless crime and it would just be for the sexual gratification of the masturbator.
I suppose this is, now that you mention video games, just a rehash of the kind of 90s moral panic that at least happened in America. You'd see it on talk shows where concerned parents would say, oh, the video games are too violent.
And they were cartoons. Do you remember? They were like cartoon graphics violent. They weren't even realistic.
The game Doom, did you ever see that game in the 90s?
Yes.
If you see it now, it's like the least violent thing in the world.
Considering what we can see now, it's ridiculous, right?
And the people you're shooting in that game are demons from hell. So, like, arguably, they deserve to be shot.
And, I mean, it was shot in Baltimore, I think. So, I mean, as long as it wasn't there, then it's fine.
Shot on one of the moons of Mars. Don't ask me how I knew that. I played the game a lot.
God, you're so lucky you're not a virgin anymore. But then anything that is technically so illegal now, why would that still be illegal? Because it's only an image. No one's getting hurt. No animals or children are getting hurt. Do you then outlaw that and make that outlaw? Or do you use it for the people that have that predilection to not allow them to commit a crime in reality and allow them to do that fantasy in the virtual world, in the AI world? F*** me, David. I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Well, no, you don't, first of all. I'll say two things. I would need to see a study that says you need to show someone with criminal predilections, as you call it.
Do you like that word? I found it in a dictionary earlier.
I have no idea what it means.
No, neither do I.
It could just mean a very high thatch-roofed cottage. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it means a window. A predilection is a type of window. It sounds like it. Oh, is that a predilection you've got on your wall? Very nice.
Oh my God, I really need to clean my predilections now.
I've got to hire a predilection cleaner.
Yeah, carry on.
Anyway, for someone who wants to commit heinous crimes, I would need to see a study that says if they're shown images, that will satisfy their needs. So first of all, you can't claim a connection there. Second of all, and this one's a real cop-out here, this is a question that I think a lot of people have strong opinions on, and people get very upset. And the victims of these crimes, the real victims of these crimes that are being AI generated, that exist in the real world, there are sexual predators out there, get so upset and have such strong opinions, and they have valid opinions because they're victims of horrible crimes. I would actually defer to someone else to have this discussion. It's not an important discussion for me to weigh in on, so I don't have a strong opinion.
So, like, for example, one of the what do you call them? The content you can look on Pornhub or one of these things is forced.
Gross. You're referring to actors playing out an assault, but not really one taking place.
But that is still a category, and it's still legal, even though it says at the bottom of it, all models, I think it will say that they were part of it, or it's an act, for example. Now, that is a heinous crime. That is illegal, right? It's absolutely horrific. You wouldn't ever want to go there. But now and this one, these are where people are depicting that. So now you're saying, okay, well, we can AI that. So there's nobody involved, and it can be as worse as it can be. So would that be illegal or not?
Well, two consenting adults, like you and a partner, me and you,
okay,
for example, me and you are having sex, and we are role-playing that kind of fantasy. So two adults can
role-play,
create that scenario that looks like that, and it's not a crime. When you have certain groups of people, like, there's no world where it's not a crime. The very depiction of it is criminal. There is no role-playing. It's by definition a heinous crime. So that's where I draw the line, the difference.
I just see it a little bit like the AI. There would be no thought of consent, would there? Because it's just information is ones and zeros, right? And then where do you stop now? Now you're stopping this new technology. Are you stopping free speech? Are you now policing this stuff because you don't like it? Are you where does it stop? So, for example, they're saying now music and films, they won't need actors anymore. They'll have AI. Now, where does the content go? For example, this bag of shit, what if there's an AI-generated David Cooper and Tony Five? Would we get upset?
No, I mean, they could potentially be funnier than us.
Well, to be fair, David, they don't need AI for that.
Tony, we got to go. We're way over time, but I'm going to come back with you in just a moment. I've got a fantastic surprise for you. Guess what it's going to be?
Is it something to do with oranges?
No, but close. I'm David Cooper. We'll be back with Tony and a surprise in a moment. Tony Five, the man who is here, the man with a shiny bald head and sunglasses indoors for some reason in London, England. Tony, welcome.
Well, I'm indoors because if I stood outside, I'd be wet, David. So what else do you want to know?
You start the interview by coughing, which is, that's real professional.
Highly professional. Yep.
Tony, I've got some surprising news. I think I'm more surprised than you are.
Are you getting circumcised again?
I am not getting adult circumcised again for the third time.
Have you got another black friend?
I don't. No, I do. I have black friend.
Are you running for president?
I can. I'm not American.
Well, then if it's not any of those three, I couldn't care less. Go on.
This show, against all odds, is getting...
Go on.
Drum roll, please. An intern.
David, 2 words for you. Monica Lewinsky. Are you joking?
I'm not joking. Somehow we scored an intern, and this kid's got a resume. He's gone to radio broadcasting school. He knows what he's doing. He's a competent kid. Like, I don't know how we got him.
David, are you saying that we get child labor for free?
We do get child labor, except it's an adult is the only thing.
How have you pulled this off, David? I know you've got connections out there, but that is ridiculous. You couldn't spend the extra and get me a little Monica Lewinsky?
I couldn't. I think we should ask him how this all came to be, because I'm just as shocked as you are.
I'm going to call him Monica. F*** it.
Don't call him Monica, please. Although, I don't know if he'll know who that is. Maybe that should be your first question for him. Do you know?
Well, how old is he?
I don't know how old he is.
Okay, where is he?
He's coming. His name's Kelvin.
Does he know how to use a computer?
I think so. Let's.
Jesus, have you gone to interns.com?
I have not.
Jesus Christ. Hello, mate.
Hey, how you doing?
Right, I'm going to call you Monica from now on. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How are you?
Can I just ask you a couple of... Are you, being held captive or something?
Yeah, I am. I'm in the basement of some random house right now. I just can't seem to get out of it. But hey, I kind of like it here.
Why on earth would you want to be an intern for this car crash of a podcast?
Listen. Some of the things just interest me there. All of the topics you talk about, some of them relate to me on a personal level. I like to banter with some of it as well.
Fantastic. So what do we call you? What's your name?
My name's actually Kelvin. I could either go by Kelvin, Zach, any variation of Zach.
Do you know who Monica Lewinsky is?
I don't. Would you care explaining that to me?
So Monica Lewinsky was a phenomenal intern, very, very highly qualified in the White House. A lot of people look up to her. A lot of people look down on her. But let's say that she was a fantastic intern, and I see you going the same way as Monica. She's very famous now, very, very, very well sought after. So you could be the Monica Lewinsky of the David Cooper podcast.
Thank you. I'm very honored to hear that coming from you.
Kelvin, he's omitting a few details here.
He can Google it. Gee,
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, what are you? Are you a Gen Z? How old are you?
I'm turning 23.
Me.
You can't ask that question, Tony. Age is a protected class.
23.
Yeah.
I'm double your age.
You know what? That's fine, man. We're all adults here, are we not?
Well,
At this point, we just stop counting after 21.
well, you're an adult. Me and Tony, not so much.
oh my
Oh,
God. I mean,
okay.
you're technically the straight man to the two of us, and that's tragic. Oh, dear. So tell me a little bit more about yourself, Mon. Go for it.
Well, first, let's talk about my hobbies. I'm a really big pool player. I like playing billiards a lot.
Wow.
I'm actually watching some of the highlights from the semifinals that just happened right now.
I used to watch this Filipino guy who was incredible at pool, and I can't remember his name.
Would his name be Efren Reyes by any chance?
Efren Reyes. He was phenomenal. Yeah. I met him in the UK. He was
You
in the
did?
UK. We've got a big Filipino population here in the UK, and he'd come over. This guy was incredible with a pool stick. He was amazing.
He's absolutely crazy. He sees the table in ways that normal players just cannot comprehend.
Like the Matrix.
He's pretty much the GOAT, the greatest of all time at pool. He's changed the entire pool game for the Filipino people. I wish I could meet him.
You should become a pool hustler. You should go to the pool hall and rip people off and do tricks and,
There's something, I don't know. There's something weird about hustling people. I like to just play for the sport. I like playing for the tricks because the only reason I got into pool was watching Efren Reyes and his clips. I saw him do some crazy kick shots and I was like, I want to be like that.
No way!
I want to be like that. And that's why I base a lot of my gameplay off of Efren Reyes. I do a lot of kick shots. I try a lot of bank shots. I'm not afraid to try those risky, flashy shots that he does. And I'm not afraid to attribute them to luck like he does as well.
Kick shots and back shots. That's my Tinder surname.
That is.
But what else do you like? So let's have this as a little minor interview for you then, Mon. So me and David, we're obviously professionals. We're well known in the industry, as you know. What makes you want to work for us?
Going through the podcast experience, I've always wanted to do that type of intern bit type of thing because I'm a big fan of that.
Hired. You're hired.
Okay, great answer.
Oh, really? That's it?
Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
If I'm not hustling pool, then hopefully I'm doing stuff with audio engineering because I really want to do some more editing and stuff like that.
Oh, fuck me, you're hired.
You're hired. You see, I mean, he can have the show. He can host the show. We should just give him the show.
We'll give up the show and you can just have it, okay? Because I think there is something called radio euthanasia where they just kill off me and David and you take over. So we don't even have to go to Switzerland for it. We'll just go. No, it's wonderful to have you on board. I think you'll make a wonderful addition. And maybe if you can get us double-figure listenings, then yeah, happy days. We've only got technically our parents and people that we've assaulted in the past as our audience.
And really, it's just Tony's mom because my parents don't listen.
We'll also get my friends who I will also assault if they don't listen.
Wow, we're gonna get all your friends because my only friend is you, Kelvin.
Are you a Gen Z? I still don't really understand. David said you're a Gen Z.
I don't know. I don't think I'm a Gen Zer.
Really?
I feel like we're one generation behind that. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I just don't know what the Gen Z generation is.
What's a Gen Zer, David? I don't really he always says stuff like this.
No, you're Gen Z. 12 to 27 is the current age of Gen Z.
12 to 27? Okay. Then I'm thinking about the one after. Is that Gen Alpha?
Yeah, those are the babies right now, the Gen Alphas. Well, you failed the what generation is someone based on their age portion of the interview, but that's okay. You scored so strongly in the other parts.
Listen, I grew up with a lot of 1990s stuff like Pokemon and stuff like that. I'm a huge Nintendo fanboy. I had the N64 and stuff.
In your mind, Pokemon is a retro thing?
Oh, that's tragic.
No. Listen. I'm talking about like Nintendo 64 age era. I'm not talking about DS. I'm talking about like close to SNES.
I was a teenager when Nintendo 64 was played.
I wasn't even born.
What the fuck?
I wasn't even born. This is preceding my generation. You know what I mean? This is what I'm thinking about it.
This guy's good, already. David, this guy's already got better content than we've had for the last 5 years.
He's walking all over us. He owns the interview. He knows more than us. He has more friends than us. And he's going to up our listenership by 5,000%. I mean, if he's not hired, I don't know who is.
Oh, come on, guys. I only have like one more friend than you guys. Come on.
So tell me, a little bit more about you. Give us three more facts. So you like Paul.
I'm a Pokemon Go player. I actually go around the community a lot, make a bunch of friends with strangers just playing Pokemon Go.
Okay, no girlfriend then. Next.
Yep, that's the third one. No girlfriend. I'm a big Rocket League player. I'm a video gamer.
Gamer or girlfriend, you got to pick a G.
Exactly. And I chose the better G in my opinion.
Absolutely, he did.
And look, he's a Go player and proud.
Yeah. Whereabouts are you based then?
I'm actually in Canada. I'm in, I would say Toronto, but I'd say the greater Toronto area instead.
Me, I knew there was a problem with him.
Yep.
There had to be something wrong, David.
Yeah.
Your final question here. You've listened to the show a little bit. Any suggestions for how we might improve it? And please, I'll take anything.
I feel like some of the music break the flow of the content a little bit.
You're really getting David where it hurts. That's the only thing he brings to this podcast, his musical knowledge. And look how disappointed, look how devastated you've made him. Oh, Jesus.
You're fired!
The intro and exit are fine. I think, if anything...
You're fired! You're fired!
I'm sorry. Let me make a suggestion.
Please do.
Instead of the music breaks in between, we could do imaging in between.
And by we mean you?
By we, I mean you and I will be the brains, but I will also be the arms.
Well, just you'll be the brains.
Imaging? But he does know this is radio though, David, right?
For those who don't know what imaging is, because Tony's an idiot, even though he's been in this business as long as I have.
The f*** is this imaging bullshit? This is radio.
So imaging is like, exactly, it's part of radio. It's that stuff that you go like CHFI 105.9, the region.
Oh.
That's imaging. That stuff right there. It's like the split is in between.
Have we got any of that, David, to put in? Sponsored by anal fluid.
If we get a sponsor for that, then sure.
Okay.
Kelvin, thank you for being thrown into the deep end with me and Tony. The harassment of employees form, I'll just send for you to have on hand so that you don't need to ask for it.
Yep.
This is incredible. Do you know what? I'm so happy that you're joining us. We really do not have a HR department, so good luck with that. But I mean, I look forward to working with you and all who sail in you.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it, Tony.
You have a good day. Take it easy. And if you ever come to England, come and visit me. It's number 1, England Road, England.
And just a little field promotion. Kelvin, you are now promoted to the head of HR for this show.
Let's go. I don't know if that's a great thing.
And head of content as well, David. Jesus.
The head of content?
Head of imaging, head of content, head of friend making, head of growth, head of HR. Really?
Whoa. Guys, are you sure this is an entry-level job? Need I remind you I just graduated?
Yeah, basically, David, we'll just give him head of everything.
Yeah, you're just the head of the show.
Just give him head, David. Just give him head.
Oh, shoot. Oh, okay. All right, I got you guys. I'm not the head of payroll, am I?
You are the head of payroll, and I'm expecting a check soon. That's our show. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Kelvin. Thank you, listeners. Singular intended. We'll be back tomorrow.